all this stuff.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. Our next guest has some new data out this week that shows anti-Jewish sentiment around the world is at its highest level since the survey began a decade ago. Joining us right now is Anti-Defamation League CEO and National Director Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan, it's nice to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the poll results, because they do show that nearly half of all adults, and let's just put the math on the screen here, folks, globally, this is about 2.2 billion people, hold significant anti-Semitic beliefs. That's shocking to me.
Yeah, it's pretty stunning. When we first did this in 2014, the number was about 1.1 billion. That was 26% of adults. So the idea that the number has doubled in the last decade is dramatic and quite alarming. And if you dig down a little bit, Andrew, there's even more worrying stuff in there. For example, adults under the age of 35 have a higher prevalence of anti-Semitic attitudes than the older generation.
Hold on, you're saying, say that again?
Younger people now have more Jewish attitudes than older people. That's a change, but so we're seeing this prejudice harden in the millennials and Gen Z.
How much do you think that is a function of social media?
Yeah.
Or what do you ascribe it to?
Look,
I won't lead the witness. What do you ascribe that to?
So I think we're all living sort of in a post-10/7 world. Let's just acknowledge that. But social media certainly has scrambled people's brains, especially overseas. Because keep in mind, we surveyed 103 countries, right? Nearly 60,000 interviews. And so I think what we also find is sort of the Al Jazeera effect. So pumping propaganda 24/7, you know, across people's cell phones and on their television screens, it has an impact.
In the United States, it's nowhere close to that. No.
Nowhere close. So the United States came out at 9%.
That's what I
versus
mean.
like
that's so misleading.
Like West Bank, Gaza, 94%.
But yeah, you can. It's a surprising number. But then when you look at the reaction around the world to all these things,
let me give you something that's interesting. So in Western Europe, where we've seen a number of really violent, ugly anti-Semitic acts, that actually is a region with only 17% on average.
Up from 9 here, though. Yeah.
Sure, but look at places like Sweden, Canada, Norway. They have 9%, 8%.
Where's the 50? Where does it get skewed?
It gets skewed in the Middle East.
Middle East.
Which is 76%. It gets skewed in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia, again.
So if we were just talking about the West, if you will, what would that number look like?
What we conclude at ADL is by the way, this won't surprise where Joe was going, I think, a minute ago. You have a handful of vocal, violent minority who's terrorizing, if you will, not the silent majority, but the silenced majority. So whether they're on college campuses concealing their identities and screaming at Jewish students, or they're in European capitals like Amsterdam committing a pogrom, it's a small group of emboldened.
Let me ask you this, and not that there should be a competition for, you know, what religion or race is more.
I don't want to win that competition.
But no, I know. But my question to you is, if you were to look at racism, if you will, against either races or other religions, how does this compare?
Well, look, this is the most extensive poll of anti-Semitic attitudes in the world. We didn't look at, let's say, anti-Black racism or anti-Asian sentiment. It might be interesting to do that. We know in the United States that, unfortunately, Jews are the most targeted minority on a per capita basis, despite their small numbers. So I think all prejudice is bad, but seeing this upsurge of anti-Jewish sentiment, seeing this conflation of people upset about Israel's policies, thinking they can vandalize synagogues and beat up Jews in public life, it's very problematic.
Okay, so you just laid out the numbers. The question is, what's the solution to this?
Well, here's the good news. So 57%, again, in aggregate, say that anti-Semitism is a problem and government should do something about it. Look, I'm optimistic about the Trump administration, that they're going to take some strong action. We're getting signals from Mar-a-Lago that that's going to happen. That's a good thing no matter how you vote.
And when you say strong action,
what is?
I mean, what is strong? I mean, look, it looks like we may be getting closer to some kind of, I don't know, a resolution, a settlement, a ceasefire, something, you know, in Israel and Palestine. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if you think that that's...
God willing, the hostages will come home. So, God willing, they'll be back. We want that.
So
absolutely.
How much does that change this dynamic, or does it at all?
Well, look, I think I just got back from spending a week in Israel. I can tell you that deterrence, the Israeli government feels like deterrence has been reestablished. What happened in Gaza with Sinwar and Deif, what happened in in Lebanon to Hezbollah and Nasrallah, the pagers, the walkie-talkies, all of it, the Israelis feel like deterrence has been reestablished. That's a good thing, but that doesn't change the fact that here at home, governments need to act, and I'm optimistic. Maybe it'll be Department of Justice, Department of Education.
To do what? To cut federal dollars to universities that allow these things to happen? Is that what you're talking about?
I think we need stronger action against universities, which don't seem to enforce consequences. I think we need to see stronger cases against people, like if you're not a U.S. citizen and you violate the law, there needs to be action.
You saw the article that anything on the nuclear facilities has been pushed back, but there was rare collaboration between the outgoing administration and the incoming administration, sharing everything, that all the nascent plans. That's a huge wild card for what might happen if the Trump administration gives the go-ahead for Israel.
The Islamic Republic is the single largest exporter of anti-Semitism in the world. But you want to know the interesting things? If you look at the Iranian people, Iran was the country in the Middle East with the lowest index of anti-Semitism, by far.
Really?
The Iranian people are amazing. It's the Islamic government, which is a totalitarian,
I think it's right
evil force.
You remember what the country was like in 1978?
So they say.
Like a Western, it was great strides.
That's right. That's right.
Jonathan, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Nice to see you this morning.